That is an
If you
incredible
need this
accomplishment.
copy,
Yeah.
right here.
That is wonderful.
Exciting.
Very exciting. Yes, well, we'll have it for like the next meeting maybe.
Except I think we're gonna have to change the maps.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, oh, yeah,
That's-
Nick has got other ideas.
at least we have an official place to start. Okay. Well, let's call the meeting to order. Off the recording. This is the Westport Planning Board, January 14th meeting. We're beginning at 6:04. A quorum. Everybody is here. Wonderful to see you. Wonderful to be among the living. And let's just jump into it. We'll start with number one on the agenda are the minutes from our illustrious secretary, another master of the world. Does everybody have a copy and has everybody had a chance to peruse them?
I read it, the email.
So do we know who the person was speaking at the beginning of the meeting? There was a public comment person who asked about. So I didn't hear her name.
Carol Rose, she was asking about the CFMA stuff and
Yeah,
worried
yeah,
about the development.
Oh, yes.
I didn't hear her
Yeah,
name. so
sorry, I
thank
didn't
you.
catch that. Carol Rose.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Yeah.
all right, we can add that then.
Good. Do we have a motion?
I move we accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you
You're
very
very
much.
kind, you're very kind.
Very generous with your time and attention
Hey, I get a little help from AI, I'm just saying.
All right. Number two, public comment. Seeing out among the gallery, I see we don't have any members of the public present, so we will close the public comment period.
Is there anything further from Dave Bertrand in terms of that, his finalized version of what he's proposing to do?
Who now?
Dave Bertrand, he was gonna do.
Oh, yeah, let's, hold that thought, okay? Cause I was going to ask to amend the minutes to, or not the minutes, but the agenda to, insert at this point a discussion about our, schedule for this month, because I know you were trying to arrange something, April. But we can also amend it to add reference follow-up on Mr. Bertrand, sorry. So let's start with that. I have heard zero. I've heard nothing at all. Has anybody else heard anything? Okay. Hey, Gary.
Hey,
Gary.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
what's happening on
It's, yeah,
Over freezing.
yeah.
So he was gonna bring us something to vote on.
Yes, yeah, we were all ready to,
So is he aware it's up to him to bring it to us?
I hope so.
yeah, I thought that was pretty clear. In fact, maybe we did have a follow-up like the day or two after from his attorney, from him referencing his attorney. And I said, yes, that's what we need, plus anything else that they would like. Let me look that up.
Lot combination. Yeah. And so it's the American, this.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gary, while I'm looking this up, the first item that we're talking about was anything that's new from Mr. Bertram. Have you heard anything?
No, that's out of my,
Yeah.
out of my realm.
Right. Well, stand by a minute. Let me see, because I did, now that you mention it, I think it's within a day of our meeting, received something from him.
You did mention like appointments and everything, but maybe.
Okay, yeah, so our meeting was December 10th. On December 11th, received an email from Mr. Bertrand saying, I spoke to the law office. My understanding was that my application needed to include a copy of the subdivision plan, proof of certified mail to the other property owners, and a new legal description of the combined lots for approval, just confirming, Dave, And I said, yes, and a copy of the current site plan that you brought with you, revised to erase the old property lines and have a place showing approval of this revised site plan. Probably be good to add revised to the title of the document. Cover page for the application. Anything else your attorney thinks that you need to comply with our ordinance. So, I confirmed with him, copy of the current site plan, parentheses that you brought with you, revised to erase the old property lines and have a place showing approval of this plan, which is what we talked about. So I can reach out to him and, I'll just send him an email right now and see if there's anything new. Actually, I'll do that afterward. I'll just say it came up at the meeting and
Yeah.
touching base with you, see if there's anything we can help. Okay, thanks for reminding us, Jeff. Anything else on that matter? Okay. Then before I didn't want to wait till the end in terms of the scheduling for this month. I know April, you were trying to schedule the site plan visit for the pier.
Yeah,
And then I saw your email, I think late or last night saying, there was concerns about the ice conditions.
Yeah.
Anything new on that?
yeah. So I've sent out the scheduling email. A couple people got back and said, well, I could be available, but why are we walking down to the shoreline in the ice and snow? It's kind of dangerous. Can we do this another time? So I asked Flycatcher, Ellie at Flycatcher. And it turns out they do build piers and ramps and floats in the winter. I did not know that. I'm like, why? What's the rush? But they do want to get started. So she said we could postpone until as late February, March. I don't know if that's gonna help much. And she said, keep an eye on the weather, but we can't just schedule on the fly. It has to be
Right.
noticed. So
Right.
I don't know if there's much advantage to waiting. Gary, maybe you can answer this. They submitted an application, so I figured that 35-day clock was ticking, which is why I started scheduling. Would they have to withdraw their application if we wanted to wait until February, March?
Well, they would have to agree to an extension. I mean, it's.
Yeah.
I mean, this time of year, I think that there's language somewhere in the ordinance that there's over a foot of snow on the ground.
Yeah.
Planning board doesn't have to do a site visit,
Right.
you know.
Okay,
It sounds like they'll work with us.
but it just seems like I might as well do it now, because I can
Right,
wait
right,
till
right.
February. It's still snowy, it could snow.
I mean,
So-
if you schedule it, and if you get a storm, you can.
We'll just reschedule.
Reschedule.
We should,
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Yep, so I'll just go ahead and Get it
Okay,
going
so,
again.
so everybody watch your emails for
for which application then?
this is for the
Quatrail.
Quatrails, yeah.
Yeah, and so I guess while everyone's here, it'd be hard to pull up all the emails on my phone, but I think people were kind of starting to circle around Saturday. I think it was Saturday, January 31st.
Oh,
I don't think I got
here
an email.
today.
let's just do it right now. Yeah.
We have been too busy.
Oh.
Weirdly.
It would be
busy.
possible I try to remember everyone on the planning board, but I don't have like a group. I don't have the tech know-how.
Okay, so you're
to set
thinking
that
this Saturday?
up. No, because I'd have to notice, so it'd be the
Right, right.
31st.
Okay.
Were we trying to coordinate it with the select board too? Or?
Yes, so I know that Ellie from Flycatcher wants the 31st. And
I won't be here that day.
that's right, you can't, but we can get a quorum.
Yeah,
It'll be, okay.
30, Saturday, the 31st,
Yeah,
Okay, yep,
it's fine with me. We have enough people.
I can do it.
1, 2, 3. Okay, that's enough. All right,
Okay.
so I'll start the emails going again tomorrow and we will get it done.
What time did you have in mind?
Don't have a time yet, but I don't know, probably what's good, noon, so it's warm.
And new or, yeah,
don't know.
noon would be fine.
9 o'clock.
After
I don't wanna
our,
ruin everyone's day,
after our
but
morning visit to the dump, yeah.
yeah,
Noon or one would be good.
noon or 1, noon or 1, okay.
1, okay. All right, well, you'll give us a email, so everybody watch for April's email on that. Okay, good. And since we're talking about that, let's just jump down to item number 4, the Portillo's Pure Dock float application. Did the attachment come through for everybody? Okay, so we have that, and we will do the site plan review on the 31st. I think everybody's comfortable with the process or procedure at this point. Any questions on things we need to do before then? Look at the application
Bring
and.
some mud pants.
I'll make the 31st. I'm free, but after 12:30.
Free after 12:30.
After 12:30. Yeah.
Let's shoot for one.
All right, good. Anything else on item 4, the Park Trails Pure Dock float application at this point? Okay. Going back to item 3, the Forbes application, which I also included the attachment. Jeff, we saw the margin issue. I copied Ted on response to your email. He wrote back early this morning and said, that's the way they got it from the state. But he offered, what did he say? And I said, if you need any documents, just let me know. I'll be happy to send them. And then he sent another email saying the pier was destroyed in the January 24 storm. We filed the PBR on behalf of Edie to give her the option of 2 more years to rebuild the existing structure. She knows that if she does not rebuild in this time frame, she will need a full permit, an RPA permit. I filed many PBRs in the past and never required planning board action. So we have the application before us. I'll share with the board. I reached out to Rich, see if he'd had any experience with these in the past, and you all may have already or remember them. And he said he only remembered 1 or 2 or 3, and all we're doing is confirming that there's no structural changes. There's no additions, deletions. It's just, repairing what's already there. And we have that representation from Ted, and we have the application, but I wanted to leave it up to you all. And I told Ted that I would raise it with you all and get back to him as to whether, number 1, we needed any more information, and number 2, what our plan was in response. So historically, we have Rich's report. I looked at the ordinances. I don't see anything that expressly talks about this other than what we already know. If there are any additions, deletions, then that's an application we need to consider, measured against the criteria, make a decision. So I'll open it to the board for discussion on what we want to do with this application. It's not one I've had before in my experience, but others may have had different experiences.
I didn't see whether the permit by will has been approved by the state yet,
I'm sorry, say that again.
Has the state approved the permit by rule application of this? I didn't see any attachment.
Yeah, if I haven't either. He said we filed and that's the PBR. We have Edie give her the option. So we could ask for that. That makes sense.
So they're just planning to replace the pier. They're not planning to change it in any manner.
That's my understanding, yeah.
Well, my only issue is I can puzzle out what this is about,
Yep.
even with the truncation, but you should have on record for the town just what this looks like.
Right. Well, that's kind of what I was thinking too, that I'd want to go back to the original application, I guess. Compare it to what they're proposing here and say, yeah, it's the same thing and they're not doing anything different.
Going forward, this is what was approved.
Right, yeah, so I think at the very least. We need to do that. So. That's probably gonna entail some research. On our part to go look it up. Unless they already have. Something I can share with us, you're looking at something, go ahead.
Well, what's our role? Does the planning board have a specific role in this?
In this, I'm not even sure it's a planning, it's just, I think for
It's
the
a
town
municipal
state,
office.
it should have.
Yeah.
A record of what that
Right,
structure was.
it's like the aquaculture things, like basically we get a copy. We have no role, but there's a public comment period, right? So the way the select board handles those is they just publicize it. So people can comment if they want, and they can do the same thing here, but I didn't think about it, because it was a peer thing, so I sent it to Gary and John.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the planning board does anything,
Or
really.
maybe you as the town clerk could say, look, we'd like to, what, could we get a picture, a copy of the
Right.
of the plan, if we don't have it in our records. And I don't know how complete the records are, I guess. Just so we have that, it looks like, again, the last thing in the file was a drawing. By Ted or Deb, but it's pretty minimal.
Right.
And then the prior ones that shows the location all, it's just impossible to read. So I think Ted maybe could fix that without having to do much research.
Yeah, I mean, to answer April's question, I mean, if there's a change, right, then that's something that we would have to pass on.
But this is, to me, it's less of a planning board issue, just more of a town issue. We should have a good copy of what this is.
The town issue is initially to determine whether there's any change, so.
For our records going forward.
Yeah, no, but I mean, there's a threshold issue, somebody's gotta say. They're not doing anything different than what was before, so is that a planning board function to look at what they're giving us to confirm there's no change? That makes sense to me.
It seems like the DEP does an inspection though,
Yeah.
so it may be more of a DEP, because presumably they have the records.
Well, the reason it's a planning board role is because it's. We're not dealing with, if it had been damaged less than 50%, then it would just be a repair.
Okay,
Because it's more than 50%, it's a replacement, which requires permitting. Because it's in the intertidal zone, that puts it at planning board table as opposed to code enforcement table. So in this case, the DEP is gonna say it can be done with a permit by rule rather than an individual permit because it was taken out by the storm of January 24 or 25, and there's legislation that says you can handle this, in a more expedited manner to rebuild. And there's a clock that's running on that, which is what Ted's talking about. So as far as the planning board permit goes, this is like a new project. It's like it needs permit because it's a replacement. The conditions that you have to look at is, as you noted, is this just an A for A replacement, or is something changing? So you have to document that as part of the process.
Okay,
Whether it's, whether there's a record in the map and lot folder of what existed before, I don't know, I haven't looked.
okay.
But what shouldn't the applicant, should they be, submit, a permit application for us to be like acting on? Or,
Yeah,
so we should probably have Ted and Deb submit like a town application.
there should be, yeah.
Okay,
All right, that's what we're doing. That's why we're doing this. Great. Thank you, Gary. So,
I have a small
ahead.
question, how is this different from the earlier application? Isn't the Quatrell application also asking for a permit by rule? I mean, they're going for DEP permit by rule for their replacement, both of these are replacement projects.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought Black Trails was a new one.
No, it's a replacement, it's a replacement.
But he's also expanding it.
Yeah.
He's-
Are they're raising it like a foot or something like that?
Right.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
but that's the only difference,
Right.
so.
But again, you know, to Gary's point, we don't. Somebody's gotta make that decision, is it different or not, and if they're. And if the 50% is the trigger, then. You know, that needs to be. Disclosed in the application that they're repairing more than 50% of what was there initially. So
Where
we
does
need
the,
to have eyes on it, make a decision.
where does the 50% come from, Gary? Is that our ordinance?
Yeah, it's the distinction between repair and replacement. It's,
It's in the shoreline.
Shoreline zone,
Yeah.
the building or both?
it's primarily in non-conforming structure language, you know, replacing non-conforming structures.
Okay,
It is scattered throughout the ordinance, it's and it's like a zoning staple, that 50% threshold.
okay. I
Alright.
just wanna let them know where it's coming from if we,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll do an email.
okay,
I'll do an email to Ted, either tonight or tomorrow. And, explain our position, but before we conclude it, let's just make sure that is our position. Any other comment or questions,
how,
people?
so how does this interact though with what the DEP is doing? So this was just a notice of intent to file, I think. I don't know, I'm reading it on my phone, so a little hard to tell, but they haven't actually filed.
I think it said they had filed, but there wasn't any indication whether they've heard back yet.
The NERPA? The NERPA permit? Well, we can always give an approval contingent upon NERPA being.
Well, we could-
approved.
And that should be part of the application. They should, you know, spell out, here's what we've done, with the DEP. Here's what, the status is 50%, and here's what we want you to do, so.
Well, I think if they file, people should have a copy, because one of the requirements to file that.
Yeah.
DEP permit is that a copy is on file at the town office, when it's done, works.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I haven't read it exhaustively because I got it, I was like, what's this? They sent it to you guys and I think the message was,
No.
I don't remember what the message was, but it wasn't anything I had to do. So I haven't acted on it or really dug into it.
It's
Yeah,
not
the permit by rule file is a lot less extensive than an individual NERPA application.
Yeah,
Which is, the standard peer permit.
The hearing and-
application. It's an expedited process. You
Yeah.
Need all the, you know, alternatives that
Oh.
have this and.
I just found it, sorry to interrupt. So they're intending to file a Natural Resources Protection Act permit and the date listed is 12/8/25. And then, so I don't, I'm not sure what I'm trying to ask. I just wanna kind of figure out if they're gonna file a permit. They haven't yet filed a permit with us and they don't know they have to do that. We're gonna tell them to do that. They're gonna do that.
Mhm.
Is the DEP gonna be making, is the DEP's actions contingent on what we decide? Or if the DEP makes a decision first, are we kind of obsolete or
Completely independent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
means.
totally independent tracks, but they need to get both to
Mhm,
move
okay.
forward? Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Okay, so to sum up and subject to any corrections, additions or deletions,
Mhm.
I will send, Ted an email, with these points. One is, we'll need an application. And in the application, if they have the prior, plans or diagrams, if not, we'll look them up. What is the status of their application with the state? A statement that, X percentage of the what was there before is no longer there or needs to be repaired. And a statement that they're not planning to do any more than what was done before.
And I think a permit application.
Yeah, that's the first thing. I
That was,
said.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
But he's not planning to do the work until next fall, so it's not a big hurry.
Right, right. Okay, any other additions, deletions to that? And I'll copy you all on. Okay. All right, so email to Mr. Bertrand, email to Tug. All right, very good. Thank you, everyone. Gary, thank you for.
So aside
educating
from the
us.
site visit for the Blood Trail situation, we're not doing a site visit yet
For that one.
for this.
For-
Yeah,
No.
I don't think we have to.
okay, I wasn't sure.
I think we maybe can, but it's not like,
Yeah,
pure rent float thing where you have to do a hearing.
I,
I wasn't sure, so I'm just saying,
yeah,
I wanna make
If
sure.
they're- if they provide a statement that they're not doing any more than what was there before, I think us going out there to look at it wouldn't give us anything to compare it to, because that's really all we're doing, is comparing it to what was before. Because unless somebody saw it before. Okay, good deal. Thank you all very much. Gary, your favorite subject currently, item 5, update on the reconstruction of the shoreline rock wall. Ms. Williams, and we had the attachment,
Mhm.
did I have it? Oh, sorry, that was left over from the, agenda for last month, so I didn't have an attachment, I
Oh,
don't think.
okay.
Gary, you've been going back and forth, and I've had a couple of emails. Why don't you summarize where we are, unless you want me to take a stab at it?
Apparently Debbie Williams' daughter is soon to be taking over the process of resolving this issue. It sounds to me like the contract, then going on, that convinced Debbie that you didn't need a permit for this because it's, you know, it's a repair. So Debbie's daughter is intending to file an appeal, an administrative appeal with the Board of Appeals, arguing that my notice of violation, that they didn't hit the proper permits, was invalid because they didn't need them. She requested the daughter requested stay of execution
Okay.
until I think the end of February was the request. The Board of Appeals has given her, I think, 2 weeks to at least get an application filed and the arguments and get something documented, you know, to start the process moving forward. So that was, it's been, what was that,
Things like last week or so.
Fifth or sixth, so it's been about a week, so he's got about another week to file the initial application.
Yeah.
That's where it's at now.
Okay, good.
Interesting.
And her, and that reminded me, Gary, that one of her messages, indicated that she was making her application for review, to both the Board of Appeals and to the Planning Board. It's clear we don't have any jurisdiction, and really don't have anything in front of us, so, I was simply going to, ask her to share it and recount what had happened so far, and say, as far as I was concerned, there was nothing to put on the agenda at this point with respect to that appeal application, because it's outside of our jurisdiction and the Board of Appeals has it under control. And let's see, the Department of the DEP has violated her too, right? I mean, they said you are in violation, you need to do X, Y, and Z to remediate. And I don't know if they've done anything with the DEP.
No, it didn't sound like they have. I haven't had any direct communication since that initial conversation to find out whether or not it's in the game.
Yeah,
So I'm assuming that not only the local permit was ignored, but the DEP permit was ignored too.
Yeah.
Did the DEP proactively tell them they needed to file a permit with the DEP, like we did?
Yeah, once I initiate, I mean, when I went down and caught Dave in the act, you gotta have permits. I initiated contact with the DEP to find out whether or not they had already taken action.
Yeah.
And what had happened initially was that an application was submitted, but in the wrong form.
Right.
So the DEP kicked it back, and I'm not sure if there was a digital miscommunication.
Yeah.
And it didn't get to who it needed to get to, but the end result was there was no permit ever issued or even
Mhm.
processed.
Mhm.
And on the second go around with Dan, when he had already started, rebuilding the wall, I said, no, you can't do it, you gotta go to the planning board, you gotta get a permit, you gotta have a DEP, they're gonna wanna see the DEP permit, He stopped again, and, I, again, touched base with the DEP, and they said, no, this is, he's gonna have to file for an after the fact.
Yeah, that's-
None, to my knowledge, none of that ever occurred.
and I assume they have their own follow-up process. They're not looking to us to keep them informed or.
Um. That's a good question. I don't think. Cause they are really backlogged
Mhm.
in that department. I don't think they're out looking for, for things to go sort of enforced.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's kind of like me, I'm not out looking for who's to enforce, but, I think if it gets to a situation where, there's an appeal taking place, in the town. And, the Board of Appeals asks for, concurrence with the DEP as to
Right.
the process as far as permitting goes. I think they'll be sort of, stiff armed into becoming involved.
yeah, okay, okay.
There is an FOA request. That's how I'm interpreting it, that basically the daughter made on behalf of Debbie. That's what I was kind of reacting to, because I saw that in the select board email and I was like, uh-oh, this is my problem. So there were like 5 items listed, and the first one was the form, which I did finally get up to her, an administrative appeal form. Right?
Mhm.
Okay, as opposed to the other kind. But there's like 4 or 5 other things, and she was asking the planning board for those things, but it's something that the town office is gonna have, like it's in the property files and the minutes and blah, blah, blah. So it's kind of my problem. It's on my desk and I hope to work on it tomorrow, but I think they are waiting for that information to
Okay.
file their appeal.
Okay.
So that's where it sits.
Or if there's anything,
So is their appeal based on that the contractor misled them, or is their appeal based on that 50% rule that the wall wasn't? That they're not in violation of the ordinance because the wall was not destroyed more than 50%?
My understanding is that their argument is that this was a repair. And it was allowed without permit.
And for that to happen, it needed to be less than 50%.
No, I mean, their argument doesn't hold any water. As far as town ordinances are concerned, because, the activity was in the intertidal zone, which puts it here at the planning board table. But in
Right.
addition to that, they completely removed all of the vegetation along the shoreline. I mean, from going. I mean, just wiped it completely out. And in 2024, I had issued a permit to remove 2 trees that were partially uprooted.
Yeah.
And had they fallen into the bay, the cove, I mean, the whole banking would just exploded, so I said, yeah, that's fine, we do that. In the process of that conversation with Debbie, she said, you know, eventually we're gonna do a seawall here, you know, and stabilize this bank, and I said, well, you know, wait, you know, before you do that, you know, there's some permitting that has to be done,
Okay.
so.
Ample
This
notice.
started 2 years ago.
Mhm.
All right, good. Well, we'll keep posted and see how it proceeds. Excuse me. All right, from this point forward, I was picking up on our agenda from last week and I heard through the grapevine that Nick had started a subcommittee and you guys were meeting, we're talking about stuff, so and I don't want to put you all on the spot if you're not ready to report to the group, that's fine too, but
We have some, we met,
Which topic are we talking about now?
yeah, I'm sorry, so now we're down to 8.
So we're skipping over 6 and 7?
We'll
Well, we're like 8 spot, oh, yeah.
8/9. See?
Mhm.
spend time on things that we,
Go for it. I just wanted to follow along with the bouncing ball.
that's all right,
Well,
all right, go ahead, Nick.
Jeff and Debbie and I did meet last weekend.
Yeah.
We went over a number of issues, but what we were really focused on a preliminary basis was the inadequacy of the maps, the shoreline maps especially, but the zoning maps in general. And the fact that the shoreline ordinance really in defining the resource protection district or limited development district does it not by the maps, but by specific lot identifications. And there isn't much coordination between the map and those identifications, and there isn't any real discussion of why some things are resource protection and some are limited development, especially because a lot of them are cheap by jowl. And then when we looked at the state regulations really suggest that you have to have a map and then you should reference the inland fisheries and wildlife mapping functions. And there is the overlay is completely different. The state map of the shoreland zones in Westport Island is quite different from the town map. It's much more extensive. And so what we were really, and it's, I think, a bit of an administrative nightmare for a variety of reasons as it now stands. I kind of suspect nobody's really looked at those parcel designations in a very long time. And the rationale isn't there, so it, I think, creates some administrative issues, but it's also the fact that the state law states that if there's a discrepancy between any meets and bounds in the ordinance and the map, the meets and bounds rule. But on the other hand, it says that if there's a discrepancy between the ordinance and the comprehensive plan, then the state would treat the ordinance as merely advisory, and it's the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan uses the state maps.
Wow.
So it's a bit of a nightmare. What we were simply proposing was that we remove the parcel designations completely from the ordinance and use the state maps and correct our maps to reflect the state maps as the starting point. There are some grandfather properties and stuff in there anyway, so we'll have to deal with that. And sort of clarify all of that. And I checked, not all the towns, but I checked Harpswell as another sort of island area. And that's exactly what they do. They don't have any parcel designations. They just reference the state map as the starting point. So that was sort of the proposal we came up. The secondary for discussion rather than specific proposal is then rationalizing where did our definitions of resource protection and limited development come from. but some of them are right next to each other, and it's really hard to understand why one is one thing and one is another.
Speak to that.
Yeah.
Don't ask me where I read it, but in my endless task of filing, I came across some stuff where they were getting the first one ready or starting to do this. And it's because there was already development on these lots. And so they didn't want to, they zoned it for what was already there, basically. Right? So this is resource protection, really strict zoning, and this is limited development because there were already houses, and that's why it follows those parcel lines.
Okay.
But there may be a different way to do it.
It also-
like it.
Defines, the state defines the shoreline zones as 250 feet. And for all practical, oh, I should add on the saltwater side, we don't do it by parcel. We just use the 75 and 250 foot lines.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an odd discrepancy, but as far as I can read, and you can correct me on this, but it seems to me the shoreline zone is defined as 250 feet, but the only practical zone is 75 feet, except in a resource protection area.
Well, the shoreline zone is 250 feet within a mapped wetland. The 75 feet is obviously more protected than the overall zone, but there is clearly a distinction between the 250 foot shoreline zone and the inland properties, because you get different area requirements and, you know, density requirements and that sort of thing.
But as I understand it, the 250 foot zone applies to the saltwater zones as well, but in our ordinance.
It applies to any mapped wetland.
Yeah.
And the 250 foot setback is for great ponds, or what is it, 10 acres? Or more of open fresh water, yeah,
Well, it's two perennial streams, yeah,
okay, and that's
and
how,
we don't have any of those, by the way.
not more than 10 acres, okay. So then. We have these zones and mostly on the. Not southern tip, but like, I guess the meat of the island is the widest of the resource protection zone. And the limited development district.
Yep.
And the delineation of these yellow highlighted ones, that is the limited development district. That's because there was development there at the time.
That's what I remember. Don't ask me to cite this.
No, that's actually referenced in the shoreland zone ordinance. too.
Maybe that's where, yeah.
That was a huge discussion, back when the shoreline zoning was initially developed. The whole meadow pond and behind your house, you know, that was. The state wanted that resource protection in their guidelines because of the high value nature of the wetland. But if you stuck that in resource protection, you know, your house, which was already there, you know, would be screwed. So there was sort of this, you know, back and forth conversation, what do we do with these properties that are, you know, already developed within these resource protection areas? But that was sort of the end result of the negotiations that, you know, pull them out and then develop. And then, everything else stays.
So limited development was the grandfather
Yep.
development.
Are there other ways to grandfather? Rather than carving out the parcels, cause I think you're saying it would be more elegant to just rely on the state maps. But is there a way to make some exceptions for
How
our,
do we designate grandfathering for other purposes, piers and. Homes that are on the waterfront too close. They're all grandfathered in some way, but we don't designate every single one in the ordinance.
right, that's true.
And that's part of the question I'm asking, because then somebody should be going in there and updating the ordinance on the parcels every single time there's a change.
Yeah, if there's a verse subdivision or say like
As
this,
opposed to just
Well-
being in the deed.
Right.
here's my follow-up question. You got this thought right here. If this were to ever get subdivided, does that somehow create more limited development district?
I don't think-
You mean if there's an exempt. Developed piece of property within a resource protection district, if that gets divided.
If,
that
if,
correct?
yes, if a property with significant resource protection district within it, does that somehow then get turned to limited development district? Or is limited development district only apply to grandfathered properties?
Oh, it only apply, well, it's in the, I mean, the properties are listed in the ordinance, the ones that are exempted from resource protection. So if you're not gonna be able to create an ordinance amendment without going to town meeting and saying, here's what I would just like to see it amended.
Right, right, so I'm just trying to be, I'm trying to understand how it with things progressing like they do, if there's more development where there is a resource in the resource protection district, does that then get the designation of limited developed district, or does it stay resource protected?
Oh, no, it stays resource protection.
Okay,
They can't develop because if it's in that district, there's all these rules, right?
Well, it can.
what's
But
more
you,
limiting?
as a board, have to decide that there's no practical alternative, within that parcel.
Yeah.
If you can, if somebody's got, 30 acres in resource protection, and we can build a house, 300 feet away from that, the resource, out like 144, and they come to you and say, I wanna build 80 feet from the water, you say no.
Yeah.
Cause it's resource protection.
Got it.
Okay, what's that?
Just, I mean, I don't know all the water bodies in the island, but I know, for instance, the stream that feeds Long Cove. It's not listed on our maps as limited development or resource protection, but it is in fact tidal quite a ways up, a good mile further up, and it is on the state maps as a valued wildfowl wetland. So we're not protecting it at all. And so I guess presumably somebody could build a house very close to.
Well, actually, we are protecting it, because we get 75-foot setback.
Right.
And that's the same as
Oh, I see.
the national wildlife rule, so it's not, if we adopted that as a national, or a waiting bird habitat. The rules that are instituted in our typical, our normal zoning are as restrictive as they would be, for the
75.
the other.
But are they protected by the 75-foot rule? Because again, on our maps, they're not within the 75 foot. That's sort of what I'm asking you.
Well, that whole tidal area that goes up, under the culvert, you go,
Not up,
goes
they
all the
actually
way up to swamps.
Yeah.
I
I mean, that's all shown.
The rest of us is not.
You've got, you can't come within,
Okay.
I think, are you talking about just this area, or are you talking about this area as well?
Yeah, most of that length.
all of that, it goes all the way up to like almost a log cabin.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
tidal
okay.
up to like here and it's wetlands all the way up there.
So how come the red and green lines don't?
that's what the DEP was asking today. You need to
Okay.
have, you need to have, you need to have the setbacks within this as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this might be a CAI
It
thing.
is, and he said he can come down here when the mappers are too, to help out.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
when the
that's-
mappers are here, which is never, I don't think. I mean, we sent them maps, right? If anyone's there.
Actually, can interface with them in terms of fixes to the maps that they maintain them.
They're a huge pain in the butt and they're expensive and they are, whenever you ask them to do anything, they're like, that'll be $3,000. So,
Well, unless the contract changed, they are supposed to
they have to.
reflect, the deed updates, it's part of what is
Okay.
in the contract.
We-
But for this, in terms of the overlay, if their overlay is incorrect,
Mhm.
I think they would fix it.
Okay,
Yeah,
But they need to be communicated to them that the overlay is fair.
yeah, so when we select zoning setbacks in the shoreland zone under our property data, that's significant to our town. The setback should also reflect upon the resource protection and limited development zones is what I'm
well, they
understanding.
kind of do, right, because I think the green, at the edge of the water is here, and then the
Yeah, but
green
you
goes
need,
out.
but there's different setbacks, like those are 250 feet, so you need the lines. And it needs to be clear of like, what is the wetlands and what are the setbacks? Just like this is very, you know, this is the water, this is the 75, this is the 250.
I see.
That it left us open to a lot of
Hmm.
mistakes, which you could get.
Okay.
And the wetlands,
I don't think you can get to site level detail on a,
No.
on a digital map. You know, so I mean, you can identify, identify the protected resource in the map. But when it comes to actually developing on site, I mean, that's gonna be sort
you're
of
still gonna have to
individual.
walk.
You gotta watch if
Yeah.
there's questions and other that wetland engineering comes.
And there are also
Hurt. Would
wetlands
they
on
hurt
the
the soils?
Well, I don't,
territory
but
on the
they-
island. Show up.
Identify by vegetation
Yeah.
types and the hydric soils and all sorts of criteria to establish the boundary of one. And back to your point on the inlet on East Shore Road. If you once you get to that point where it goes from tidal to fresh water, the restrictions actually increase on fresh water. It goes from 75 feet to 100 feet.
Does it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Ah.
Freshwater wetlands are a little more protected than tidal wetlands. Because of the interchange.
Yeah,
Well, that was part of our thinking here, was this overlap with the discussion stuff. Where. With that. Well. Just trying to really clarify where the. Actions needed to be. The other thing, as I said earlier, is that according to the state regulations, if there's a discrepancy between the parcel designations, if they exist in the map, the parcel designations rule, not the map. So to the extent that we are designating specific parcels, that overrides the mapping issues,
So
which is, I think, why other towns don't
don't do it. And you mentioned if you have a camp that's built right next to the shore in the shoreland zone. We don't have to call out that parcel in an ordinance to say this is an exception. How do we,
Indeed, I assume.
Well, I think it's different in regard, in the fact that the rules aren't, they don't change. Within the non-conforming structures in the shoreline zone. The rules are the rules, it's just that if you have an existing non-conforming structure, you know, then there are some limitations on the amount you can expand.
oh,
The way you can expand
Right.
it, but in the case of this resource protection district, I mean, the rules completely changed, I mean, they become 250 feet, no way, you're not doing anything. You know, so it's a completely different ballgame.
isn't the grandfathering for things next to the water in the shoreline zone, isn't that just like if it was built before the ordinance was enacted, essentially, right?
Yeah, same thing here, though, I think.
Could we say the same thing and instead of calling out things by parcel, say this is the zone as of now? Anything in it before this date is whatever, fine, whatever I don't know the right language, but the same concept. And that way we don't have to list parcels in our ordinance.
I think the reasoning. Going back in time and then, but the reasoning was that if you left those. Pre-developed lots, resource protection, then the resource protection rules apply. So if somebody that had an existing residence in that zone. Came to code enforcement, said, you know, I really need a garage, cause you know, I just got married, and my wife's got 2 kids, you know, we got 3 vehicles and. You know, now you can have a garage, but it's gonna be 250 feet, you know.
Right, oh, I see, it would
So,
make it,
and, that was the sort of the back and forth that was going on.
I see.
All right, well, it sounds like you guys have done some great work. Where do you see this going? What do you, I mean, are we talking about, it sounds like we're talking about getting some more accurate mapping between what we have, what the state has, and what we may want to change.
Yeah, I think follow-up definitely involves the DEP coming down here and just talking to us about, there's some things. And yeah, regarding the setbacks, what we need, bring down our map.
How do you want to structure that? Do you want them to meet with your subcommittee? Do you want them to come down and meet with us as a
I think
whole,
we
and do
should
a
meet with that like
presentation?
a whole.
As a whole, I think that would be good.
He said primarily during business hours, and the next January and February are really slow for him, which
Okay,
is
okay.
not, yeah.
Well, why don't you all schedule something up, and if we need to do a special meeting, and then
During
we
the
could
day,
also
during the day.
advertise it, because the public, the members of the public might be really interested in this.
Yeah, and then I think get some questions together for the CEP. I mean, even not regarding this, it just, I was like throwing scenarios that we, come against a lot, like small seasonal buildings being expanded upon or
Yep.
renovated.
Yep.
And what, how do we, and then also looking at our shoreline zone, ordinance too,
Okay,
and just hear what they have to say about that.
that'd be great.
Well, we were, I think, really posing for discussion was that we recommend changing the ordinance to take out the specific parcel designations and reference the state maps. We were not proposing at this point to eliminate any grandfathering or do anything like
Okay.
that.
Right,
And we did though want to look at those maps on a tax parcel overlay and just look what the impact would be on existing landowners before. Any specific changes were recommended, but we were moving in that direction. And then the other issues that came up were, trying to figure out some administrative procedure for reviewing the CFMA zoning.
okay, good.
And
Well, that sounds good. We'll get, obviously focus on some action items or things that we can, put in concrete form and then, advertise to the public so we can get some public input on these things.
CFMA is gonna be more.
Yeah.
I guess technically grandfathered in, so.
Yeah.
What happens if they change of ownership and they still have the.
Exactly.
Structures on the short funds, so I don't know,
Yeah, exactly. It's,
Interesting.
but it's just recommended to look at it. Did I miss something else that we?
No, the 1 and 2 were related. One was mapping. 2 was resource protection versus limited development. And then 3 was CFMS.
Yeah, why, yeah, I did possibly consolidate.
Yeah,
But
but now it makes sense.
Yeah, it's clarified. Yeah.
And so with the grandfathering in mind, does it make sense to get rid of the designation of the certain parcels or?
Well,
Like Gary,
the grandfather anyway, but you brought up, you should have had the rules.
like just because, so for instance. I live in the limited development district. I have 4 acres. That means I can still subdivide, right? Or I can't subdivide. So would there ever be a situation where we need to add another parcel to that's what I'm trying to understand, under the ordinance?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
So my question is, there's someone in the development district with enough acreage to subdivide under normal conditions, are they still able to subdivide under the limited development district conditions?
Sure, I mean, if you meet the dimensional criteria.
Right, you just need to stay off that.
Question is, once you divide, what can you do?
Right, yeah, and then you just have to stay off of this, cause it's really those lots right there, it's kind of half them. I'm not really sure. If this is one parcel or multiple, but what I was trying to understand, if there was ever a scenario in which we would have to add to that, so that list of parcels, do you see what I'm saying? In the limited development district.
So it's your
Interesting,
question,
okay.
because your 4 acres is unlimited development as an exclusion from resource protection because it was pre-developed. If you were to subdivide that and take 2 acres, say 2 acres and 2 acres, leave the house on 2 acres, your house on 2 acres, have an undeveloped 2 acre lot that is being transferred. Is your question, is that 2 acre lot being undeveloped 2 acre lot being transferred, still excluded from resource protection?
I'm asking, is it subdividable? Like, is it able to be subdivided?
It's subdivided because of the area requirement.
Yes,
But the question then becomes,
is it buildable?
is it buildable?
Right.
And that's a more serious question.
Right. Yeah, cause why would you subdivide if you can't build? So, but say you can build. Right, with a certain distance from where you need to be. That, I'm just asking, when a limited development district parcel subdivides, is that possible? And I'm trying to see, is that, cause that gives the scenario of additional parcels or amendments for the limited development district on this ordinance.
You'd have to amend the
It would
ordinance.
change the parcel listed,
It would.
yeah.
Yeah, so that, I think. The original parcel, if you're I'm saying yours because.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about, I'm not trying to narrow it down. So, the original lot designation would stay with your developed lot, and then the transferred parcel, the subdivided parcel would become .1 A or
Right.
whatever. So I don't necessarily think that secondary lot would automatically transfer that limited development designation. It may in fact be resource protection because it's now a separate lot, a separate undeveloped lot within the umbrella of the resource protection.
Right.
And that's, I mean, that's something that would have to be thought through
It's like a kind of a gray. And because, you know, I mean, these is the other limited development district right here, on the other side of post or other side of Main Road alongside post office. And those look like they have enough acreage to be subdivided in the future. So I'm just trying to look at the scenario in which we're adding to the, is it possible to add to the limited development district, or is that? Does that stay with the original structure and whatever the subdivided lot becomes, is that now back into resource protection?
Yeah, I mean, my inclination would be I mean, the whole purpose, the whole reason for that exclusion from resource protection is because that lot is developed. If you take half of that lot, move it out of that developed umbrella and now make it undeveloped lot within the overall resource protection, and I think you're looking for trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As far as trying to keep it in limited development.
But it is a gray area in our ordinance.
Yeah, and so say this lot here, if it's, sorry, it's kind of like half, you see the structure is mainly within that orange zone, which is the limited development section, so that's a structure right there. So say that lot, they somehow subdivide that right there, and they build a house over here where it's not in the zone.
No, I get you.
I'm saying over here out of the orange highlighted
Yep.
way. Is that considered buildable
That's fine, as long as they're meeting the criteria.
out of 250 feet? Yeah.
I mean, you can build in a resource protection line, you know, as long as you're meeting the
Yeah.
criteria.
I think it's really important for us to have these setbacks drawn onto these maps, these resource protection zones, so that's very clear to everyone, you know? So I think that should be something that we zero down on first.
I do encourage everybody to compare the town map to state map. I sent you the links.
Is this still-
There's a significant difference. You should really consider that.
Yeah, let's, all right.
Does this still meet that?
Does that have?
Yeah, this has us and the, well, the NWI, not the.
Yeah,
the
well, then she's creating that to overlay the two.
Yeah, so this is just an idea of what that looks like. They did a large format, everybody can see.
So the map, the state map we should compare to is the NWI.
No, well, it's,
I
the
haven't-
state map's based on the NWI, but no, the legislation says that we should use the state maps. So that's what we should compare it to, which is the beginning with habitat.
Beginning with habitat.
Oh,
Which is
yeah.
what's in our comprehensive plan too.
And then I would
But
like
that
to
map has like a billion of slaves. I
Yeah.
looked at it before and I'm like, what? You have to check everything off? Like, is there
Well,
specific things?
there's a lot of layers, so
Right.
you can check them off and look at them individually. Right now, we're just discussing the. Yeah, the wetlands.
So the relevant layer when you're looking at that map is the wetlands layer.
Later on, there's still issues like forest and land and farmland and stuff like that, which we haven't.
Yeah.
Even begun to.
Yeah,
discuss.
it's touched, yeah. My question is like, how are these, wetlands are so. Some of them have been there forever. I mean, I believe that the one behind my house has been there forever. It's always referred to, I've gone way back in the day, it's always referred to as swamp. And, but some of them are vernal ponds, some of them change, like, how accurate is the state data? How often are they coming down here and testing the soils? Like, when is this data collected? What, I mean, I'm sure it's great, but
How do you deal with it? Things come up, you have to walk the property and say, this is the wrong soil, you can't do it.
Well, I'm not a.
soil scientist.
Really, I think there's a question that, I require, notification from the SPP.
I have some business to do.
No worries.
So in the end, you may use the map as a guide, but in the end, which is what.
So here's the only resource protection areas, right here,
Yeah.
one for one, Beaver Pond,
Yeah.
Swan Creek,
Freshwater.
right, no, is that Swan?
It was Swamp Creek.
Yeah.
Okay, Swan
Yeah.
and Hopkins, right
Yeah,
here,
Hopkins.
behind me, all the way to Hopkins Road.
And that's Beaver Pond down here.
And I think Jewett, yeah, that's Beaver Pond,
Yeah, these are the existing ones you can see on this.
yeah.
Okay, let's corral back. We're breaking down into separate conversations.
One
Great.
last one, like just weird, there's. We've noticed, we've identified like a kelp property right here, it's like this very interesting circle on the island, they call it the Blah.
Yeah.
And so that's not anywhere, I mean, it's on the wetlands map, but it's not on our, protected or whatever. Obviously, Pelt has it now, so we're not worried about it being developed, but it's just kind of a funny. All of the resource protection and limited development is here. None up there. Maybe that's the geography of the island. I mean, I know the island gets really fat here and looks very ledgy. You could tell the topography, but again, I'm not a soil scientist, so just interested in to see why it's all here, not.
All right, well, good work.
Good.
As I think you all anticipated, the more you get into it, the more things come up and we're gonna identify more issues, I'm sure, as this continues to develop, so. Take manageable bites and focus us.
Yes,
Because,
Oh, really?
I see,
It's on the maps right now.
yeah, no, that's,
Here.
and take your time. I see this as a couple year project, right? I mean, this is not gonna happen overnight.
Oh, we're gonna have the whole thing done by March.
Yeah.
Next month.
That's-
John, what's your availability during the week?
Um. Not great, but I can, I'm flexible enough that I can, if I don't have court, I can be somewhere. So you guys set your schedule and let the rest of us know when you're meeting and we'll try to
I'm good
accommodate.
Wednesdays specifically,
Wednesdays are usually better for me. For some reason, they don't schedule things. like
That's
that.
definitely good, except you've got a tenant, come on. I'm looking at April.
Oh, yeah, I'm working, but I'll be in the office. I could probably pop up.
It's clerk duty.
We could meet here.
Are you thinking morning or
Great
afternoon?
service.
Wednesday?
I'm thinking, around 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be the whole planning board, I mean, it should be nice.
Right, right, right.
We'd have to, yeah, put out public notice.
So
February.
Wednesday morning. So
Is-
Wednesday morning,
Wednesday,
Wednesday, Wednesday morning,
we were calling.
February.
Yeah.
Okay.
sorry, I missed the part. Is Wednesday definitely the best day for some people?
Sounds like it's
For
might be the
me-
best day for John.
Yeah.
And then he said he could get
Flexible.
down here as soon as 10 a.m. So I'm sure he'll have a, mapping stuff to give you and.
I only bring it up because Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have 3 people
Mhm.
for public service, and Wednesday we only have 2, so I would probably be pulled away if it got busy, but it doesn't always get busy.
Yeah,
Which is
we'll
fine,
see
I'm
what-
not vital to this,
Oh,
I'm
other than getting my hands on that map.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I think he can scan that into you. and
Yeah, he's emailing
If,
it.
the plotter size, do you know how to, where to order a plotter?
He's gonna
uh,
mail
right.
me a,
Oh, he is. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
All right,
That's
well,
nice.
set your schedule, let us know,
I'm
and, we'll,
Sorry for the second Wednesday of February, which is the 11th.
okay.
What are
Yeah.
you inviting them to meet?
And they-
Colin Clark,
Oh,
yeah.
And, April, we should probably, notice those.
Yeah.
Once I get set up, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, once we
Yeah, I'll
get it
confirm it
scheduled.
tomorrow.
Okay, great job, guys.
Okay.
That's super. And that's why I wanted to take it out of order, because I anticipated
Oh.
this was going
Well, I'm
to
confused, Mary Ellen.
invite a lot of conversations.
We
So,
tried to do one thing and stumbled upon 10 other things. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
all right, great. Going back to item 6, this was a holdover from last month, discussion action assisting applicants with procedures and issues. We just kind of touched on it, but we really didn't talk about it much. So I wanted to put it back on to see if folks wanted to talk about that some more and structure some process to do that, or think about some options or some.
Jeff, could you talk a little bit more about what you heard or learned a little bit from the MMA?
The basic point is that, in a situation where we don't have staff, wanting the staff who would ordinarily be, well, the questions about, planning board issues, and then the MMA side is okay for planning board, members. However, the planning board should decide to allow for that, to at least help someone, give guidance on how to proceed. Again, not making any statements that could be relevant to the substance of the matter.
That's not going forward, yeah.
Proceed, and filling out the forms. I think when we talked about this, though, possibly the idea was we were gonna have an additional code enforcement officer who might be able to
Oh, yeah.
provide that assistance.
right, well, my understanding was we couldn't do it because we're the decision maker, but it sounds like MMA is saying we can,
Yeah, because we're not making
Yeah.
a decision, we're helping someone actually present the information to us.
right?
So are you saying like, here's the form you need to fill out, here's the process, go talk up to that person? Or are you saying like, oh, you wanna do this, look at this ordinance and look at this ordinance, like how far does that go?
I don't think if you wanna say anything with regard to the substance of what they're requesting, but they say what it is that they're trying to do. And you say this would be the steps that you need to go through, the
Okay.
information that you need to provide to us.
Like a checklist and
Yeah,
a site plan application,
the ordinance says, in a sense, what is needed for
Mhm,
completeness.
mhm,
You
yeah.
can reiterate or repeat what the ordinance says.
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I know the select board right now is talking about the deputy CEO #2 thing in anticipation of the revaluation. And they had mentioned maybe making site plan review, helping people with that process, be
Mhm.
part of that role. I don't know where they're at with it, though. I think they're gonna talk to the attorney and meet with Gary and Ron to figure it out. So if we had a dedicated staff member, it might be a good thing to just, we don't have to do it. We're the decision maker, it's off our plate and somebody else can sort of be the assistant. I think that would be better. But if it doesn't
Sure.
end up either they don't hire for that position or it doesn't end up on their list of duties, we could do it. We might wanna wait. I can ask them, I don't know where they're at with it, but just to see.
Let's see what they're planning, because we're kind of limping along right now as it is. I mean, historically, my impression was Rich did this a lot, talking to folks, and maybe Bob did too. And I've been in several different organizations where we had this issue. And it becomes difficult because just as you saw in the dialogue right now, it becomes, you can walk so far, but you got to be careful walking too far. Well, putting it in the perspective of the applicant, right? And we've seen that here recently. The applicants want you to do everything, right? Because they don't know what to do, and that that we get that, we understand that. But so how to resist, a neighbor saying, hey, I need help with this, and then it evolves into you're doing everything, and now you're making the application on behalf of the applicant to the board, which you're a member of, and that gets really messy, right? Because if Jeff is helping somebody and they say, well, Jeff told me to do this, that gets really sticky.
I do think we
So
need
it's-
to come up with guidelines for that, because we need to be fair and equitable and clear.
Right. And
So, yeah, I don't think we should all go off and do things in our own manner, but I think
No, I
we need
think
some
it's-
guidance.
it's really important to talk about it and kind of get a sense as to how we're gonna do it. So, I mean, as I say, we're limping along, and, there haven't been any problems. It's not a big deal, but it is really awkward, and we have to send a consistent message to
Right.
the community about where the lines are drawn.
Well, I did prep a few things before. I was like, wait a minute, I'm not supposed to do this because I'm on the planning board. So I stopped, but I have those documents. I'll check in with the select board and see where they're at
Okay.
with deputy CEO number 2, and if that's happening or not, and what they want on their duties if it is. And if it's not, or it's way down the road, maybe we can take a look at that again and start working those and coming
Yeah.
up with some basic stuff in the meantime.
Yeah, let's do it. I think it's there. It's kind of a little stinker, so we don't want to just hide from it and ignore it and just kind of limp along. Let's make some deliberate decisions about how we want to do it. And there's a whole range. I mean, I was with one organization and we had it rotated, one person was what we called the investigator, and for a particular project, and that was their job, and we kind of walled them off from anything further to do with the decision, and they didn't participate in the conversation. So, there was kind of an understanding, and we drew some lines, but that takes some training, and you kind of get some experience, and so yeah, let's see what they're going to do, and then come back to it and talk it through and make some decisions, because I think it's going to keep coming up. It always does. And instead of just kind of doing it on the fly, let's make some deliberate decisions about it and what we think would be the best for everybody.
We know that it can be confusing.
Oh, for sure, for sure,
I think
for sure.
we owe it to our neighbors to make it. Doable,
Doable, yeah.
without having to incur the expense of an attorney.
Yeah. I mean, we're all about public service, right? We want to provide the public service, but at the same time, we're, as I say, we're compromising our ability to provide the primary public service of making thoughtful and neutral decisions about issues that come before us. So, okay, good. Well, let's keep talking about this. We'll work it out.
I just remember, part of what actually the MMI said also was that the code enforcement officer could be the one who's often the first contact.
Yeah, well, that's
Serves as the catcher, we might say, for a request. and then explain as well. But again, when it gets into things that might be a planning board procedure, then the code enforcement officer isn't on the hook.
Yeah, to be clear, I mean, Gary's been doing a lot of this, right? I mean, you're the first person and they're looking for guidance on how to do what. And we do too, right? I mean, we look to you for guidance on things as well, so it's an awkward position and it's awkward, to put Gary in that position and we're doing it. It's kind of working, but we could do better. So let's do better.
Maybe if I hadn't joined the planning board, I could have done it. I
Well,
was like, oops.
That's-
I wasn't-
we don't want to
We
lose you,
don't.
so let's see
No,
if
no,
there's
no.
another way.
We're not gonna lose you, yes.
All right, very good. Okay, implementation of the water study reforms. I haven't heard anything from the Conservation Committee. Has anybody else heard anything? Okay.
Something working, I think on public education, that was the focus.
I haven't heard anything.
There's something cooking, but they've been meeting a bunch. I haven't been here when they're meeting, so I haven't heard anything, but I know.
Right, there usually are fly
I
on the
heard a
wall.
little bit from Donna. But not a lot. So
Okay, all right, well.
it's happening, but I don't know the details.
Okay. I guess I didn't really say it this way, but, and I should put it in, but, I apologize, I've forgotten her name, but the individual who, made the presentation on the, pesticide.
Oh, Susan Gallagher?
Thank you.
Yeah.
She's working up her draft ordinance that, she said she would, and she's sent me a couple of emails along the way. And she's doing a great job. She's reaching out to all the different stakeholders. She even had a conversation, I think, with some pesticide company or Terminix, thank you.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, and they raised some issues. So she's really working it. She also talked to the fellow running the farm.
Oh, Kyle,
Kyle?
Who,
Kyle DePietro?
yeah, talking to him and so anyway, she's really doing a great job and I told her that it's getting close to time when the select board has got to make some decisions about what they're gonna put in front of the town for ordinances. So I'm kind of thinking, see what you guys think, that we set aside some time / a special meeting in February to consider any ordinances that we want to put on the table for the town.
Will she be ready? Will she have a
We
draft?
should have a good solid draft
Okay.
and be prepared to publicize that draft and invite the public to comment on it.
Should we look at it before we publish? it?
Well, that's
I mean, she's
ideally, yes.
doing a good job of X and Y and Z, but what is it gonna, how's it gonna translate for us in terms of?
Well, it's just a matter of timing and scheduling, so, and that goes for anything that we're planning to propose too. I know we've kind of kicked around a couple things, and may have some ideas about ordinances we want to put in front of ourselves, for consideration to recommend to the board, so.
I think we have a little more time. I'm trying to remember the whole warrant
Yeah,
timeline,
yeah.
but the warrant doesn't have to be like signed and finalized until late May or early June. An ordinance does need a hearing.
Yep.
Which I think is like at least 7 days before the warrant is finalized. You want more wiggle room. These are just the rules.
Yeah.
But I don't think we have to have ordinances like go time by February, I hope.
But if we
Because
can
I'll
look at
be-
it, if we can look at a draft of something, so we have time to.
We should
actually-
get going
Yeah.
for sure, like now. And then, but I think like
Okay,
April might be the like,
the crunch.
let's like
Okay.
finalize.
Well, let me put it, I'll just mark as an agenda item for February. And it's not a deadline, but just, we're going to set aside time for the February agenda to consider any ordinances that
She could first.
we may have, or if we know folks like, is it Deborah, did you say? Gallagher.
Susan. yeah.
Susan. If she has something, bring it to us February, and if any of us have anything that we want to share among ourselves to potentially put on the table, let's target, our next meeting in February to do that.
She told me today that she expects to be ready for the February meeting and would like to be on the agenda.
Okay, good. All right, well, we'll do that and we'll generalize it so that anybody that has any ordinances that they want,
I'm trying to protect myself because I have ambitions, but I don't have anything ready, so I'm like, I have more time.
We hear you, we hear you.
well, it's not,
We don't know what Debbie's up to either.
it's a beginning invitation date. It's not an end
Yeah,
deadline date.
I still have the lot
You're-
coverage ordinance that I
yeah.
have to post. I just wanted
All
to
that stuff.
keep it open to discussion of like
Yeah.
what percentage we're going for.
We'll put, let's,
Let's talk about that
let's get
then.
it to the, put something down on paper stage and talk about it February,
Okay,
February,
because you've already driven,
first opportunity.
you've already prepared something for us, so.
Yeah, I did put it.
Because we may not have more than one more meeting to really, pass anything in
Well-
time for the board to do something with it.
I wanted to like have feedback. I don't think we've ever talked about the lot coverage. There's, there's two big things that I wanted to talk to you guys about. So, you leave it open for discussion, so I don't know when that is.
Well, feel free to send stuff out. We just can't generate dialogue. So
I
if
think
you
I
have
did send
something,
it out. I did send it
After-
out.
if you have
Yeah, but
something
we
you
can-
want, sorry, if you have something you want people to look at, in terms of draft, go ahead and send it out, but we can't have any feedback and back and
Mhm.
forth. We gotta save that for the meeting.
I think I sent it back out.
All right.
A couple months ago, yeah, no.
Yeah,
No, I'm just saying,
in October.
we can talk about it at February, Demi,
Okay,
just make sure that it's back on the table here.
but so is it like the final draft that I'm presenting or just the draft? Oh, draft, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A draft, as final as you want it to be.
Yeah, no, then we'll ask April to make it final.
Yeah, just,
Okay, good.
goodbye.
Any other projects folks are working on that they wanted to report on tonight?
I don't have anything to share with you, but I have been collecting some demographic information. So using mostly, what they call the ACS, American Community Survey, which gives us a 5-year running sort of sample of the population. So, I'll, right now it's in table format, so it's a little boring, but, I'll get that out to you. So it talks about how things have changed from 2020 to 2025, and, both in terms of people moving in to town, out of town, our educational attainment, some other typical demographic stuff, but I'll get that out to you. But I haven't had time to visit with the staff because it's a scary bunch of people. No, I have to make appointments with all the good people and, look at the numbers,
Sounds great.
some other data, so making some progress, but I'll get that out to you.
Is it give us an updated number of like how many year-round residents versus seasonal residents we have, or households, I should say?
Households, but they don't really talk about, so households is based on, so the best count of seasonal is whether a house is occupied or not occupied, and,
Mhm.
so they don't really do a count of seasonal population.
Mhm.
The state doesn't, yeah, they don't do that, it's just through the housing units,
Mhm.
and that's just a guesstimate too, right? Because even though there's something might be seasonal or sometimes vacant, it could be occupied year round.
And they base that off of the homestead tax exemption, or do they base it off of like people voting,
Well, this is the census, so it's a federal thing, so they just do a running. But I would say it's a running estimate because the 2020 is the person-to-person count, right?
Mhm.
And then every year after that, it's based on sampling.
Mhm.
So it's not as precise as we'd like it to be, but compared to, I mean, it's the only thing we have right now. But anyway, if we balance it, compare it, if you will, with school enrollment data, some other data that the town staff has, so I think we'll get a bigger, better picture of it.
Do you guys have, information on, well, Ashley would write for homestead tax?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, because that
I
would be a
don't
good
send it out.
idea of who lives here year round versus
Yeah.
who doesn't.
Yeah, so that's the stuff that the census, that the federal people don't really get at.
All right, sounds good. Gary, any enforcement watch items that you're paying attention to?
No, nothing new along that.
Okay.
There's a couple of more pay permits coming our way, or your way.
Oh, boy.
One down on Bay Shore Road and, Saving Dead, filed for their theater up on the north end on the CFMA, so
Okay,
those
okay,
are in the works.
okay, good.
Be sure, okay.
I keep seeing activity at the big black building, but doesn't look like any commercial activity that I can see.
I think the dogs are happy. I know.
I bet they are. Oh my
Exactly.
God, oh my God.
Oh, I have, a question. Do we have any setbacks for fences or driveways? Okay, well, that's something I wanna work on. ASAP.
Okay,
Sorry, after going to my mother-in-law's house and seeing her neighbors, like, a neighborhood that used to have no fences and all wooded. Now all these fences going up right on the property line. Yeah, it's just like,
Okay.
okay, if you want a fence, then it needs to be on the property.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
There are some statutory height limitations,
Hmm,
spike bits.
Hmm.
Legislation, but as far as boundaries, you can put it right on, right up against the boundary line.
mhm. Yeah.
Hmm.
I'll be working on
Okay.
that ASAP.
Okay.
all right, any other business?
I know.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, all in favor? Thank you, guys. Great to see
Thank you.
everybody. Stay healthy.
Thank you, Jim. Take care of yourself.
Yep, yeah, all right, we'll do it. It's like the history committee is doing some fun stuff.
I have no idea. No, I only show up as Gabe. Orders me to.
You know, I've never had a fall on my trailer, so I've never amazed me.